The email arrived at 9:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. "John, please stop by HR at your earliest convenience." After 12 years at Meridian Technologies, I knew what that meant. No one gets called to HR for good news. I closed my laptop, straightened my desk, meticulously arranged as always, and took one last look at the corner office I'd earned after a decade of 14-hour days and missed family dinners. The city skyline through the window had been my silent companion through countless late nights. Funny how you notice these things when you're about to lose them. "Budget cuts," said Monica from HR, not quite meeting my eyes. "I'm afraid your position has been eliminated, effective immediately." I nodded, feeling strangely calm as she slid the severance package across the table. 2 weeks for every year of service. A handshake that was a touch too brief. And then the indignity of the security escort, as if I might steal something or sabotage the systems I had helped build from scratch. As I walked to my car, carrying a small box of personal items, I noticed Ryan, 3 years out of college, hired under my supervision, watching from the window. He'd keep his job, of course. Cheaper salary, I supposed. Business is business. What Meridian didn't know was that I'd been watching them much more carefully than they'd been watching me. Their stock had been sliding for months. Their recent product launch, the one I'd advised against, had been a spectacular failure. Their margins were thinning. This wasn't about budget cuts. This was about desperate executives making desperate decisions. And I had been preparing for this moment, though I hadn't known it. My investments over the years had done well. Very well. I had contacts throughout the industry who respected my work, not the company logo on my business cards. That night, I made a call to Vincent, an old college friend who'd gone into private equity. Remember that conversation we had at the reunion last year? I think I'm ready to have it again. Before you continue with the rest of my story, I need to ask a quick favor. YouTube has been removing subscriptions lately, so please check if you're still subscribed and leave a like to support the channel. These small actions really help keep these real stories coming to you. Now back to what happened next. 3 weeks later, I was sitting across from Meridian's largest investors, armed with spreadsheets and projections. "The company isn't failing because of market conditions," I explained. "It's failing because of leadership decisions that prioritize short-term gains over sustainable growth." They listened. After all, I knew Meridian's operations better than almost anyone. I had built their distribution network, streamlined their supply chain, and developed their customer retention program. And now I was explaining exactly how I would fix what was broken. It took 4 months of meetings, lawyers, and more paperwork than I care to remember. But finally, the day came. I created a holding company with Vincent's firm and 2 other investors. We made an offer that the board, seeing no better options, accepted. 6 months after being escorted from the building, I stood in the lobby again, key card in hand. But this time, I wasn't heading to my old corner office. I was heading to the CEO's suite. The company-wide email went out at 8:30 a.m. All staff to assemble in the main conference room at 10 a.m. for an important announcement. As employees filed in, I waited just outside, heart pounding in my chest. What would happen next would change everything, for them, for me, and for the company that had discarded me like yesterday's newspaper. I walked into that conference room at exactly 10:03 a.m. The timing was deliberate, just late enough to ensure everyone was seated, waiting, wondering. The room fell silent as I stepped through the door. Faces I'd known for years registered first confusion, then shock. Monica from HR visibly paled. Ryan, my former protege, dropped his pen. "Good morning, everyone," I said, my voice steadier than my heartbeat. "For those who don't know me, I'm John Mercer. For those who do, well, I'm back." I moved to the front of the room, past the executive table where CEO Richard Carlyle sat, frozen, his face a mask of barely controlled panic. Our eyes met briefly. He knew. Of course he knew. He'd signed the papers yesterday. As of 9 a.m. this morning, Meridian Technologies is under new ownership. I'll be serving as your interim CEO while we rebuild what's been systematically dismantled over the past 18 months. The murmurs grew louder. I could almost taste the anxiety filling the room. I see familiar faces here. I also noticed some missing ones. Good people who were escorted out of this building because of so-called budget cuts. I pulled up the first slide of my presentation. It showed Meridian's stock price over the past 3 years, a steady climb, followed by a precipitous fall. This wasn't inevitable. This was a result of specific decisions made by specific people in this room. I glanced at Carlyle, whose complexion had gone from pale to crimson. Now I could do what was done to me and many others. I could have security waiting outside to escort certain executives from the building. The tension was palpable. I let it hang there for 3 excruciating seconds. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to fix what's broken, not to break it further. I noticed Tom from accounting exhale audibly. Martha from marketing uncrossed her arms slightly. The room was still wary, but I could sense a subtle shift. Some of you remember the Meridian of 5 years ago. We were innovative. We were growing. We cared about our products and our people. That's the Meridian I'm bringing back. I've always believed that before asking for attention from others, it's important to give back. Many of you have been following stories like mine, and I want to make sure you keep receiving them. YouTube has been removing subscriptions without warning lately, so please double-check that you're still subscribed and consider leaving a like if you're enjoying this journey. Every bit of support matters. Now, let me continue with what happened next in that tension-filled room. Within the week, I'll be meeting with each department. I want to hear your honest assessments. What's working, what isn't. No repercussions for honesty. You have my word. I clicked to the next slide. Our new organizational chart. Several executive boxes were conspicuously empty. And yes, we'll be making changes. Richard and several members of the executive team will be departing immediately. Carlyle stood abruptly, his chair screeching against the floor. This is ridiculous. You can't possibly... Security is waiting outside your office, Richard. Your personal items will be shipped to you. 2 weeks severance for every year of service. I believe that's the company policy you established. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. A few people actually smiled. As Richard stormed out, I noticed Monica staring at her lap. I'd have a separate conversation with HR later. One more thing, I said, closing my presentation. We'll be reaching out to former employees who were let go during the cuts. Not all positions can be restored immediately, but many were valuable team members who deserved better. After the meeting, I stood in the hallway as people filed out. Some nodded respectfully. Others seemed uncertain. Ryan approached cautiously. Mr. Mercer, he stammered. I just wanted to say... I raised my hand to stop him. We'll talk tomorrow, Ryan. I remember who watched from the window that day. As I walked toward what was now my office, I knew the real work was just beginning. Buying the company had been the easy part. What came next would test everything I thought I knew about leadership, loyalty, and legacy. And somewhere in the building, allies and enemies were already taking sides. The real battle for Meridian's soul was about to begin. That afternoon, I sat in what used to be Richard's office, my office now, staring at the magnificent view of downtown. The same view I'd glimpsed only once before, during my final performance review 18 months ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was reading through departmental reports when a knock interrupted my thoughts. It was Diane, my former assistant, who had somehow survived the purges. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Mercer, but there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but... Diane paused, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. I thought you'd want to make an exception. I looked up at the doorway and my heart skipped a beat. Sarah Chen stood there, arms crossed, wearing the same determined expression I remembered from our product development days. So it's true, she said. The prodigal son returns. After Diane closed the door, Sarah approached my desk. When I got your email this morning, I thought it was a joke. I never joke about business opportunities, Sarah. You know that. She smiled slightly. And offering me my old director position with a promotion is just business? I need the best people. You were always the best. Sarah sat down, studying me. What happened, John? One day you're escorted out by security. The next, you're buying the company. That kind of money doesn't materialize from nowhere. I considered my words carefully. Let's just say I had 18 months to plan, save, and make some extremely lucrative investments. And find extremely deep-pocketed investors, she added skeptically. I leaned forward. Look, I'm rebuilding Meridian from the ground up. The prototype you were working on before they shut down your division, the quantum encryption algorithm, it's exactly what we need right now. Sarah's eyes narrowed. That project died when they fired me. Did it? I asked, holding her gaze. A moment of understanding passed between us. She had taken her research with her. Of course she had. It was her life's work. I need to know something first, she said. Is this about rebuilding Meridian? Or getting revenge on Richard and the board? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. I glanced down at the text from my lawyer. Carlyle just hired Hoffman. They're preparing a legal challenge. I want to take a quick moment to thank everyone who's been following this story. If you're enjoying it so far, please make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube has been quietly removing subscriptions lately. A quick like also helps others find stories like these. I appreciate your support more than you know. Now, back to what happened next with Sarah. I put my phone down and faced her directly. Would it matter if it was both? She smiled for the first time, the sharp, calculating smile I remembered from our late-night coding sessions. Not to me. I just need to know what game we're playing. I opened my drawer and pulled out a file. The board meeting records from the day they decided to cut 30% of the staff. Notice the departments they targeted first. Sarah flipped through the pages, her expression darkening. R&D, engineering, product development, all the innovation teams. While keeping marketing, sales, and biz dev intact, I added. They weren't cutting fat, Sarah. They were gutting innovation to boost short-term profits and stock prices. For what purpose? I handed her another document. 6 months after the layoffs, Richard and the board members exercised their stock options at peak value. 2 weeks later, they announced unexpected setbacks in product development. Because they'd fired everyone who was actually developing products, she whispered, the realization dawning on her face. Exactly. They pumped the stock, cashed out, then let it fall. Classic pump and dump. Sarah put the papers down, and now you own the company they deliberately tanked. I nodded. But there's something else. Something I found in the financial records that doesn't make sense. Money moving through subsidiaries I've never heard of. You think they were embezzling too? I think it's something bigger. And I think the encryption algorithm you were developing might be connected somehow. Sarah's expression changed to one of alarm. John, if what I think is happening is actually happening, we're dealing with something far more dangerous than corporate greed. The door opened suddenly, and Ryan appeared, looking anxious. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something you need to see right away. It's about the Ascendant project. Sarah's face went pale. How do you know that name? Ryan looked between us, confused. It's all over the internal servers. Someone just uploaded hundreds of classified files with that header. The system's going crazy with alerts. I stood up quickly. Lock down the servers, now. As Ryan rushed out, Sarah grabbed my arm. John, if those files are what I think they are, Richard isn't just going to fight you for the company. What do you mean? Her eyes met mine, dead serious. He's going to try to kill you for it. The secure room beneath Meridian's main building felt like entering another world. 3 monitors displayed the Ascendant project files, their blue light casting shadows across Sarah's tense face as her fingers flew across the keyboard. "This is worse than I thought," she whispered. Richard wasn't just selling encryption tech. He was selling backdoor access to government systems that would use our algorithm. I leaned closer to the screen. To whom? The highest bidders. She pointed to a spreadsheet with 8-figure transactions. Foreign entities, private intelligence firms, people you don't want having unfettered access to secure communications. My phone vibrated. Vincent. Security breach at your residence. Get somewhere safe. If you're following this journey, please check that you're still subscribed. YouTube has been unsubscribing viewers lately. A quick like helps this story reach others too. Now, back to our situation. We need to move, I told Sarah, grabbing a portable drive. Richard's already made his first move. We slipped through the emergency exit just as security alerts blared throughout the building. What began as corporate revenge had suddenly become a dangerous game of survival. And the Ascendant project files were now the most valuable and deadly weapon in play. 72 hours after our escape, I stood beside federal agents as they led Richard away in handcuffs. The evidence on that portable drive had been irrefutable. Treason, corporate espionage, attempted murder. "You should never have fired me," I said as he passed. His eyes flashed with hatred. "You were always expendable, yet here I am, owning your company." The press conference that followed was surreal. With Sarah beside me, I announced Meridian's new direction. The Ascendant project will be reformed as an open-source security platform, with built-in protections against the very backdoors its creator intended. Later, in my new office, Richard's old one, Vincent delivered the final documents. "The board unanimously approved your leadership," he said. "Investors are calling it the corporate comeback of the decade." Sarah knocked and entered, smiling for the first time in days. "The dev team's ready whenever you are. We can rebuild everything, better this time." I gazed around the office, remembering the day I'd been escorted out. You know what the sweetest part is? They fired me to cut costs, claimed I wasn't worth my salary. Now I sign their paychecks. "Poetic justice," Sarah said, leaning against my desk. That night, as the city lights twinkled below my office window, I thought about how quickly life changes. One moment you're packing your desk into a cardboard box. The next, you're stopping an international conspiracy and taking over the company. I never planned to buy Meridian when I was fired. I just wanted justice. But sometimes, destiny has bigger plans for us than we have for ourselves. My revenge wasn't in destroying Richard, it was in creating something better from what he tried to corrupt. If you've enjoyed this journey from fired employee to company owner, please hit that subscribe button to join me for more stories of corporate justice and unexpected victories. Remember to like and share if this resonated with you. Sometimes, when one door closes, you don't just find another. You buy the whole building.